let me explain here itself as to how a political party will be setting up a candidate in your constituency. Because as I have said, that a recognized national party will require only one proposal. But how will you know that he is a person who claims to be a candidate of a party? Actually, he is a candidate set up by that party, and at the time of scrutiny and the time of further proceedings, you will be required to decide whether he is to be treated as a party candidate or not. So, for this, that order which I mentioned, Election Symbols Reservation and Allotment Order, 1968, that has been made by the Election Commission. You must keep a up-to-date copy of that order with you always, because you may have to refer to that order, and if you just keep an outdated copy, we may have made some changes which you may not be even aware, and then that any wrong decision may affect the whole process. So you always keep, and we also take special precaution to supply copies of the latest orders on the eve of every election, so that the returning officer gets it. So if you don't have it, you would ask the CEO and he will give you, and if CEO does not have it, he should ask us, we will give him. Then if you see that particular symbols order, there is a paragraph 13 that explains the procedure as to how a political party can set up a candidate. This will apply not only to the recognized parties but also to the unrecognized parties also, because unrecognized parties ultimately, when they contest and when we calculate the votes polled by their candidates, we should know who are the candidates set up by that party. So the same procedure they also have to follow if they feel that this man should be treated as a candidate of our party. So there are basically three very special requirements under that para 13. Firstly, the candidate himself must say that I have been set up by this party. That is the first requirement. That requirement he has to fulfill by making a declaration in his nomination paper itself. As I said, in the nomination paper, the third part itself contains a declaration that I have been set up by this party in this election. So that is the first requirement. Then merely a claim by the candidate is not enough, because there may be so many candidates who may be saying I have been set up by this party or that party. So the party also must say, yes, of all those people who are claiming to be our representative party candidate, he, A or B, is the only man who is our candidate. So for that they have to comply with two requirements. Firstly, they have every party has to intimate the chief electoral officer and also the returning officer in a form which is known as Form A, that for your state we are authorizing some, say, state's president of that party as the person who will be telling you who is going to be our candidate in your constituency, in constituency A, in constituency B, in constituency. So they have to first intimate the authorized office bearer of the party, who in turn will be telling you in this particular constituency he is the candidate of this party. So that is known as Form A. And then that particular person who has been authorized to intimate you the name of the party candidate in your constituency, he has to give you that intimation in another form which we call Form B. In that Form B, the authorized office bearer of the party will say, in constituency number so and so, he is our candidate, and he has to give the address and that some name and the address of the candidate. So that has to come from person who has been authorized in Form A. Sometimes we have seen that a party says that in this particular state or in this particular group of districts, this particular gentleman, say maybe state president, he will be giving the intimation in form B. But then there may be some problem, and then the president himself may say, no, I don't approve that one. Now I am saying this man will be our candidate. No, we will not go by that one. We will go by the authorization in form B given by the person whose name is mentioned in form A only. This is just like a bank account. If a party has a bank account and the specimen signatures of certain signatories or functionaries of that particular party have been given to the bank, then howsoever some high person may be there in that party, but if he signs a check, bank will not accept. So just like that one, that intimation to you in form B must come from the person who has been authorized by the party in form A. So this you have to keep in mind. Somewhere I said, if I can give form A to a person, why can't I give straight away form B? No, there is a procedure. If you want to change that, then first you say this form A will not be acceptable from this gentleman, we are changing this authorization. Then you say who is going to be the authorized representative, then naturally we will take that. And then second requirement in this particular form A and B is that it must reach you by 3 p.m. on the last date for nominations. Because you see, 3 p.m. on the last date for nominations, the whole process comes to an end, the nomination process. So by the time the process of nomination comes to an end, by 3 p.m. on the last date, that form A and form B must be in your hands as the returning officer. Any paper coming after 3 p.m. we are not going to entertain from any party. Then in this case, another thing may be there. Sometimes you have seen, and it's a very practical thing, party may first give form B to one man, then there is some what they may call some problems, or there may be some other bargaining, so they say okay, we are changing this one, we are giving this authorization in form B to some other candidate. They can do that, but that should also be done by 3 p.m. on the last date. And again, this form B must be signed by the same man who has been authorized in form A. So the cancellation should also be in form B by the same person. Sometime if you see that form B, we have added a paragraph saying that the authorization given earlier in favor of X is hereby rescinded, and now we are authorizing this gentleman Y as our party's candidate. So you will take that. But we have come across several cases where they just sign and they don't cancel the earlier one. So the difficulty is that you are now with two forms B signed by the same gentleman, and you do not know who is the man. So previously our instructions were that you treat everybody as an independent, but then that led to some problems because there were 2-3 candidates, each claiming and each giving the form B and each having only one proposer. So the returning officer, he went by our instructions. He rejected the nominations of all because they were not proposed by 10. So the Supreme Court said, no, you should have given him some more time, because one man was saying, you give me some more time, I will get the clarification from the party. So to overcome that problem, we have now added another paragraph 13A in the symbols order, where we have prescribed itself that in such a situation where you have 2 forms or 3 forms B and no one is cancelling others, so everyone is saying this man, this man, this man. So in that case what we have prescribed, and it's a notice to every party also now, that the man who has given you the nomination paper, not the form A or B, nomination paper first, he will be treated as the party candidate. So we are not going to say whether this form B was given to somebody subsequently or earlier, we are not going. Whosoever has come to you claiming that he is the party candidate, he has given you the nomination paper, and his form B is also there, who will treat him as the party candidate, unless that has been cancelled. If there is a cancellation, that is a different matter. But where there is no cancellation and a confusion is there, so we will go only by the time of the receipt of the first nomination paper. Whosoever has come to you, first we will treat him as the party candidate. That we have now clarified. So this is what has to be done by the party. Again, just to recapitulate, candidate must say, I am a candidate of the party. Then party must fulfill these requirements of Form A and B by 3 p.m. Then one thing you also please keep this in mind. We don't what they call accept an authorization in Form A or B being sent by email or by fax or so. No, it must come in original and it should be signed in ink, because otherwise some people may just prepare some rubber stamps and then go on putting them. So we insist, and it is there in the part of that form itself, which is instruction is contained, that it must be signed in ink by the signatory, and it should not be sent by fax or email or telegram. We will not accept that. It should be delivered in original to the RO. The law, of course, in paragraph 13 we have said that Form B may need not go to the CEO, but Form A, that who is the authorized office bearer for the party in the state, it should go to the CEO. But somewhere the CEO may not have received, the returning officer may have directly received. So we have given a liberal construction to this, saying that because the allotment is and the scrutiny is to be made by the RO, if RO has got Form A and B in time, then that will be taken as a substantial compliance. So this is what you have to keep in mind while deciding whether a person has been rightly, validly set up by a party. Then I would like to dwell something more on this Form B. See, in Form B there is a provision. It's in two parts. One part says that he is our approved candidate. So X, maybe they say he is our approved candidate. But thinking that there may be some problem with X, or maybe his nomination may not be accepted, or maybe some other problem. So just to safeguard their interest, the party may say Y is our substitute candidate. So Y's name may also be given in that particular form itself. But here, if on the scrutiny of nominations you feel or you find that X nomination is okay, then substitute candidate nomination on that Form B will have no meaning. And supposing the substitute candidate has only filed one nomination or 4 nominations, giving only one proposer, and he is not a candidate of the recognized party, then his nomination itself will be invalid. But if he has taken the precaution and has also filed another nomination, or in the same nomination he has filled part 2 also with 10 proposers, so in that case you will independently scrutinize that second part, and if there are 10 proposals, then you will take him as an independent candidate. So that substitute candidate will come as an independent candidate. But then there is one technical problem here that you must keep in mind. Supposing on the date of scrutiny you have accepted X, who was given by the party as the first candidate. You have accepted his nomination. Y you have not regarded as a candidate of the party. But because he had filed 10 proposals, so he is still in the race. He is an independent candidate. Now, after the scrutiny, there may be some problem or bargaining. The X says, okay, I am withdrawing. So X can withdraw at any time within that period. So in that situation, our instructions and the rules provide that the Y, whose name was given as the substitute candidate, he will step into the shoes of X, provided he is already there. supposing the nomination of Y has already been rejected, because he had only given a nomination with one proposer, so that nomination will not be revived. But if he is already in the race as an independent, then only the change from independent to a recognized party candidate we will permit. If his name is already there in form B as a substitute candidate. This you have to very carefully keep in mind. Some situation arose in Karnataka very recently. Somebody had given this form, this party had given X and Y as the main and the substitute candidate. But X and Y both had given only nominations with one proposer. So X nomination was accepted, Y's this nomination was rejected. He was no more in the race. But then X withdrew. Then now the party wanted us that you please accept Y as our candidate. We said, sorry, we can't do that. If he was there in the race, we could have given you that facility of taking him from independent to the national or a state party candidate. But he is no more there in the race. His nomination has been rejected because he did not take that precaution. So we can't permit. So this change from independent to recognized party candidate will be permissible only if he is already a candidate. That I have already explained, that where a situation may arise where a same man may be having, same party may be having more than two. Then this change also, cancellation must be received by 3 p.m. And this also I have told you that a person in the same nomination paper may fill the first form, first part saying I am set up by this party. Then he may fill the second part also saying that I am independent with 10 proposals. So that is also permissible. And that also I explained that if a person has given you the nomination, both as a party candidate and also as an independent, if the first part has been rejected, then you will not reject his whole nomination paper. You will see whether he has 10 proposals, and if he has 10 proposals, then you will accept him as a independent candidate.